Now look at this. The total course of dining. How should you eat? How should you place your meal? This would of course give in much greater detail. What should be served first? Sweets were served first. Now it's the other way around. So you will find the way plates were arranged, how the food should be served. All these are described in great detail. There is a very good description of the party, wine party. Charaka talks about it, and Bharatheeya, Ashtanjaliya, you will find a very beautiful description. How the wine should be served, what kind of glass, what kind of company, what kind of conversation, how should be enjoyed. All that. But always in moderation. And then a rich and varied menu, different types of meals, very joyful description. And you will find that there was great concern in those days about sexual potential. Erectile dysfunction is not a new thing. It was very much an obsession in those days. You will find many items, vegetables, etc. One of the qualities of sweet or oily, etc. You will find briscia, which enhances sexual potential. This is a major concern. And good physician, he has an obligation to train disciples. This knowledge, this divine knowledge, must be transmitted to the next generation. And here, the selection of pupils was made on the basis of physical, mental, intellectual, and moral attributes. In Charaka Samhita, there is no explicit bar on accepting Sudras. They preferred Brahmins and Kshatriyas, but there was no bar. But this bar became much more strong in Sushruta Samhita. Obviously, Sushruta Samhita, the redaction that we have by Nagarjuna, which was probably about 400 years after Charaka Samhita. And there you will find Shudras were not to be initiated. If at all they are initiated, exceptionally bright Shudra, then there should be no oven, no lamp, no oven should be there, no mantra should be chanted. This was it came later. So you can see the society becoming more and more rigid for the subsequent change. And very elaborate qualifications were prescribed, both for the teacher and for the pupil. And the training took place. There are two types of training. One is Gurukulas, like you see in Charaka Samhita or Bharatheeya, taking place in Gurukulas. But there was also another system of training in the university. It is interesting, if you read Bharatheeya, there is no mention of the university. It is all about training in Gurukulas. But remember, Takshashila, which was a great university in Buddha's time, that was a flourishing university because medicine was taught. It was famous for medical studies. There is no mention of that in this Samhita. You have to find information on university training in Buddhist texts, which we have in this country completely dissolved. I think that is one of the great mistakes we made. Ayurveda definitely flourished in the Buddhist faith. We are somehow wiped it out of our memory, and we are to that extent impoverished ourselves. Not like we take the Hippocratic course now in the conclusion of training. Here it is at the beginning of training. And the pupil had to agree, and the training included theory, was learning by heart. In fact, a sloka, only one line may be taught, or maybe two lines, sometimes the whole sloka. At Charaka's definition, I can imagine only one line would be taught in a day, and they had to learn it by heart. The next time when they came, the teacher would ask, he had to recite. So he had to learn by heart. That was part of the tradition. Discussion. The Charaka explicitly says the best way of learning is impartial, discussion, sermon. In fact, the whole of Charaka Samhita is a series of sermons. Somebody has taken a short note and took it. And this course, there are lectures and practice, assisting in the examination of patients, like apprenticeship, always with the teacher, treatment procedures, collection of herbs, preparation of medications, and so on. And the world as a teacher. This was a point repeatedly emphasized. Krishna Viloko Buddhimata Masaya. For the wise person, the whole world is a teacher. And this is again stated by Bharatheeya, Ashtanjaliya. So that was a point. The moment you think that you know everything, you don't have to learn anything more. I think for anybody else, that means you are declining the subject, you are stagnating. So I will insist that always the world is a teacher. And this I took from the long exhortation by the teacher. This I won't read it, so you can just glance through. This is the kind of exhortation that the teacher, the preceptor made to the disciple, the initiate, and he had to say, he had to accept these commands. And you can see it in students' behavior, in relation to the teacher, with the patient. Some of them sound very modern. Some of these you will find reflected in the Hippocratic Code also. But it is a very long quote. I have just taken a small extract to give you a flavor of what in the universities, on the other hand, if you read Mahabharata and other texts of the Buddhist, admission was around 14 years. And there was a selection done by Vichara, which is an admission committee. They had to interview this person. And again, physical, mental, intellectual, and moral qualities were assessed. There was a liberal education, literature, grammar, logic, philosophy, mathematics, botany, mechanical arts, Vicharavedi-Inaguration-Part5.wmv. That also was taught. They were assessed for admission, and training averaged 6 years in those days. And the final test was before passing, and there was a final test before he was assessed as passed. And much of this we get from Vichara's life. Vichara was I don't know how many of you have heard about him. His name is very familiar in Japan and China, but we don't remember Vichara. He was Buddha's physician. An extraordinary story. I hope someday our distinguished director, Adur Gopal, will make a movie on him. Because Vichara, he was actually an orphan, son of a prostitute, abandoned at the doorstep of King Vichara, who was the emperor in Patna. That baby was abandoned on the steps of his palace. And Abhaya, the prince, was coming out of his morning tour, and he found a crowd of people. He said, "What is happening?" He said, "There is an abandoned baby." He said, "Is that baby alive?" He said, "Yes." That is our Jivaka, the name of Jiva. And he took that baby in the palace and lost it as a prince. But by the time he was 12 or 13, he was a precocious, strongly intelligent boy, and he realized he was not really a prince, he was an orphan. He said, "I want to make something of myself." And he left Patna, and Takshashila was the great university for medical studies. And he traveled all the way to Takshashila. And he went to that Krishna prayer, one of the great professors there. He said, "Sir, I have come here. I hear you are a great physician. I want to learn your art." So he said, "My son, come and join." It's as simple as that. Because you could see at once he was a brilliant person. And his studies in the Takshashila, there are so many wonderful stories about that. I have no time to go into all this. And finally, when his test came, he came, apparently the test was from a crowd of the university, number of students and teachers, etc., academic assemblies would be there. And when he came, the test was there with the shalada. There was a rock in that test. So when you open that, there are 2 pages, and he has to read that and explain it to the satisfaction of Buddha. Now we come to this. In the traditional schools of philosophy, regarded false knowledge as the ultimate avidya. That is the cause of human bondage. So to get out of all this, you have to have vidya, you have to destroy that avidya. That is the traditional. But charaka, that is a metaphysical concept, which is beyond many ordinary people like us. But charaka is here. Suffering results from errors of judgment, from bad conduct, satyavana. That is the cause. Now that is something we can understand. We can do something about it. It's tangible. So charaka tells that this is satyavana. But then the question comes, how free are we to govern our own conduct? Are we free? Do we have that freedom? That question comes.